Welcome. This is producer Dwayne Omarr, and this is the third episode of No Cap Sauce.
No cap sauce. We pour it so you can drip.
For my official YouTube channel, please remember to subscribe. Smash the bell to be notified when a new video posts on the all-new official Dwayne Omarr YouTube channel. This episode 3 is sponsored by Sonia Lee Robinson, author of Counting Your Blessings Journal. Go ahead and cop that on Amazon. The plug I'm going to mention today, what I'm going to tell you is from the horse's mouth. This is not anything salacious.
No cap sauce.
But I'm going to give you some caveats that you may not find verbatim. But the plug that I'm going to speak on is a brother by the name of George Smith. He's a good man, a very talented and businessman, an entrepreneur of the entrepreneurs, as a matter of fact. When I first got wind of him was because he was managing Bobby Brown when Bobby blew up like crazy in the 80s. He was the one that had assumed the role of manager at that time, and he pushed some buttons. And I'm gonna go and give you some of the sauce.
No cap.
We'll let you know it's not just about talent. You have to have someone who has talents that may not be on the stage as well. His name is George Smith. George Smith, when I first heard his name, I heard that he owned a bank and an airline. After I got to know him, it was shortly after his wife had passed. I met him when I came back from the Bahamas sometime around 96, into 95, going into 96. And I was in Los Angeles at the time, and I made connection with him and went up to meet him in Oakland. And I was there for almost 3 months, and I almost moved there because we were doing so much work. When I got there, I was recording at Tommy and Denny's studio from Club Nouveau, who did, of course, they did Club Nouveau, they did In Vogue, they worked with Tony. So I was recording in that studio. George and I would go on drives, and he would just talk. He'd just be spilling the sauce. It reminded you of like a very educated black man, a nerd, who you wouldn't think that he would be involved in the music business. He was very well connected politically. I know one of his close friends is Maxine Waters. A couple of events I ran into Maxine, and she would always ask me about George. But anyway, let me tell you about this plug. George actually owned the commercial property where the Bank of Oakland had their offices. So he was the landlord for the Bank of Oakland. Now, I don't know what rent they were paying, but I'm guessing $15,000, $20,000 a month, maybe more. So, you know, he was getting his paper, plus he had other real properties and whatever investments that he had. I know he was tight with the mayor of San Francisco, Willie Brown, and it was it was a lovely thing in Oakland. So, one of the artists that he had spoken to me about is when he used to work with Marvin Gaye back in the day. And now most people would find this hard to believe, but he said how much stage fright that Marvin Gaye had. He said Marvin Gaye would almost not even go out on the stage and really drag him onto the stage because he was so afraid of the audience. But once he got on the stage, all bets were off. He did his thing, and it was hard to get him off the stage. So a lot of people wouldn't think that Marvin Gaye had stage fright, but it said Marvin Gaye, he said, his manager, back in the day, he said Marvin Gaye had a tremendous amount of stage fright. This is no cap sauce where we pour it so you can drip. The reason why I'm sharing some stories is because if there are artists out there and maybe they might have one aspect of the game on lock, but the rest of it, they need some work, you can understand that some of our biggest rock stars, R&B stars, pop stars may be dealing or have dealt with the same thing that you may come across. Have no fear and push forward. Cool? Cool. The next situation, I want to break it down a little bit. Now, and that's about LA and Babyface. LA and Babyface, for those that don't know, were in a group called The Deal. They had some hits. And groups like The Whispers and even The Deal, they were emerging at a time where some of these other artists, McFadden and Whitehead, and Brothers Johnson, it was a time when they were starting to fade off the radio. It wasn't like it is now where you can go ahead and dial into Pandora or Spotify, something, and get just your genre. It wasn't like that. Back before LA and Babyface blew up, George Smith had a relationship with them. So what happened is he had a girlfriend. I'm going to keep this pretty straightforward. She's a woman of God now, and I'm not going to go into any of the salacious stuff. Well, not much of the salacious stuff. He told me that's another video for another time. My purpose is not to throw shade on anybody, but is to help someone. So what happened? This girlfriend of his, I'll call his girlfriend, quotation. One day he had a conversation with her, and he said, "What's it going to take for you to stop, living the lifestyle that you live?" She was about 23 years old at the time, and I'm sure George was definitely north of that. But anyway, and this is from the horse's mouth. This is what he told me. She said, "I really want to sing." He said, "If you really want to sing, then I'm going to help you." So he called up his associates, LA and Babyface. Now this is around the time when they had done Rock Steady for the Whispers and put the Whispers back in the mix. The Deals, To Occasion, and a couple of their other songs were starting to bubble and had made some noise. They were just starting to get their name circulated, and I think they had just left Dick Griffey on in the process of doing that. The reason why I know that it was in the process of transformation because one of the members of the group The Deal, I won't name his name. I don't want to embarrass him or his family. That's not necessary because his name is not even part of the subject matter. But when I was in Los Angeles working on some projects with Ralph Tresvant, so I was staying there, and one of the members of The Deal didn't have a place to stay, and I didn't really know him from a can of paint, but an associate of mine asked me, "Well, can you let him crash at your place until he can get in touch with Kenny?" Well, anybody knows Babyface's real name is Kenny Edmonds. So Babyface called my room, I think, later on that night and asked to speak to him. And I gave him the phone, and then he had a place to stay. So he had a crash at my spot. And I'm glad it wasn't overnight because I didn't know the dude. I respected him as a professional. And I know he had sang on all the Deal records. And as a matter of fact, if you heard him sing in Babyface, you couldn't tell the difference. This is producer Dwayne Omarr, and this is No Cap Sauce. Episode 3, Season 1, where we pour it so you can drip. So getting back to the plug, George Smith. He set up a meeting with LA and Babyface to play him some songs for his girlfriend, which the world knows as Pebbles. To play some songs, we talking the 80s and going into the 90s. So the stuff that LA and Babyface played George and Pebbles, one of the songs was called Girlfriends. She really liked that song. And she was informed that, you can't have this one. This one's for Vanessa Williams. The song was already done with Vanessa Williams' voice on it. And she said, "No, I want that song." this is Vanessa Williams' song. So George, being the plug that he is, Pebbles ended up with the song. So what he did, he got in contact with MCA, the head of MCA at the time. I'm not sure if it was Irvin Azoff or somebody else, but he got in contact with the head of MCA, and he told him, he said, I got an artist produced by LA and Babyface, and I want you to sign her, and I guarantee her gold. That's a plug move. Guarantee her gold. I guarantee that she'll go gold. What does that mean? That means if I have to buy the first 500,000 records myself, I guarantee her gold. The story goes, the units were ordered. The units ended up in a warehouse, I believe in Atlanta, and got scanned until it ran up the charts. Those that know anything about this business know what I'm talking about. So, of course, now that you're a new artist with a gold record, doors are flying open. Of course, it ended up becoming platinum, maybe even multi-platinum, and then we would end up on the same tour. And you know, when I went out on the road with Ralph Tresvant as the music director, Pebbles was on the tour along with MC Hammer did some dates, Bobby did some dates, Whitney did a few dates, Babyface did a few dates, LL Cool J did most of the dates, Keith Sweat, Frankie Beverly and Mays, I think Luther did a couple of dates. But anyway, and I think Patti LaBelle did a few dates as well. But anyway, getting back to the plug. There came a time where the plug got suspicious of his now wife, because he ended up marrying her, may have had some relationship outside of professional relationships with one of the producers, aka L.A. Reid. And the way that he told me that he verified it was when they had those late night recording sessions, he would sprinkle baby powder around certain doors and put a piece of thread in the baby powder. And if he's seen it later and it moved, he know that, you know. So anyway, you can conclude how that went yourself. So once he knew, now he told me it was about him not taking a loss because he had invested a lot of money. The part that I didn't mention is when he became aware that his artist was being unfaithful with the person that he hired to produce her, he started thinking of things he can get back. Now, when you give someone money, a lot of times you can't get the money back because the money gets spent. But one of the things that had transpired in order to get that song that was supposed to be for Vanessa Williams, he told me he gave LA a 560 SEC Mercedes-Benz, which actually seen and actually raced Bobby in it. That car went to L.A. Reid, and he got Babyface a Jaguar. That was part of the arrangement in order to get that song back that they had cut on Vanessa Williams. Because remember, it was already finished and ready to go out. So when he found out that she was unfaithful or that they were messing around, he wanted anything back that he can get back from LA. So he called Suge Knight and told Suge Knight, go get my car. So Suge Knight went and got the car. So Suge Knight, according to the plug, he sent Suge Knight to go get his 560 SEC back. And he gave that car to Bobby Brown. Initially, when he took on the management of Pebbles and Bobby Brown, the 1,200 square foot office space that he gave his new wife was to run the management for both artists, according to him. This is what he told me. So anyway, Suge goes and gets the car. And he had a relationship with Suge already because Suge had approached him to invest in Death Row. And he didn't understand rap, and he didn't particularly like rap. So he passed on investing in Death Row. He thought rap would have been a fad. So he did Bobby, he did Pebbles. Now, if you recall, the first solo Bobby Brown album, the numbers that I heard, somewhere around back then, I think they were at about 175,000 copies, which on an independent label, that's great at $7 the wholesale. I mean, do the math. But on a major, that's considered not successful. So when they dropped the new, the second album with Don't Be Cruel on it, check the connection. The Plug had a relationship with LA and Babyface. Okay, who produced Don't Be Cruel? LA and Babyface. Every Little Step I Take, produced by LA and Babyface. Rock With You, LA and Babyface. Are you listening to me? The Plug. With The Plug came the relationship. Bobby had the hottest songs. He had the hottest producers. And the reason why they were hot, because everything that they produced, even if it wasn't a hit yet, The Plug made sure it appeared to be a hit. And everybody wants to be involved with something that's successful. This is producer Dwayne Omarr, and you are listening to No Cap Sauce, where I pour the sauce so you can drip. Now, let me tell you something about the game that I see a lot of young artists doing, and it's a big mistake. There's really no courses on this, what I'm giving you. It's like you know somebody or you don't. You're either in the circle or you're out of the circle. And most people in the circle keep things close to the vest. They don't share anything. Let me just share this last thing with you. You can go, we call them tracks back in the day, but you can go and find somebody to sell you a beat for 10, 20, 30, 40, 100 bucks, whatever. Never gonna play that game. First of all, we can produce our own, but we don't do that. The least I ever got for beats back in the day was $5 grand. See, because what happens is that those 10, 15, $20 beats that supposedly you own, the problem with that is, even if it sounds good to ears that may not be on the same level of those future plugs that you might need to connect with. In other words, it might sound good to your hood and your family, but even if it's all that in a bag of chips, the producer don't have relationships. So if you have hot beats, then you're competing against other folks with hot beats. But if you have hot beats with a producer that has relationships, that changes the game. So a lot of people are looking for plugs. There's very few people that are in the position to plug you in that are willing to do so. And even the ones that are willing to do so, it's not going to be free. Because anything you get for free is worth about what you paid for. If you're looking for plugs, I mean, I'm a plug. You got to have a budget. Because at the end of the day, no one is going to invest in you unless they see you investing in you. I've been thinking lately about putting together a super group using an engineer that's worked on Jay-Z and Beyonce, having it mixed by another engineer and producer that's worked with Dr. Dre, Christina Aguilera, working with a writer that's done Janet Jackson. You see where I'm going? These are relationships that I have that I can bring into any situation and make a super group. Using an entertainment attorney that has worked with Jamie Foxx, Fleetwood Mac, Bon Jovi, Carlos Santana, Chick Corea, Tears for Fears, Stanley Clarke, Wilson Pickett, Michael Jackson. I can pull them all together. Someone that's watching this has been looking for a plug, and they just don't, they're tired of wasting time and money buying these beats that cost you nothing and get you nowhere. They need to connect with a real plug so they can plug you into relationships And that's how things get done. Well, thank you for watching. This is producer Dwayne Omarr. This is No Cap Sauce, where we spill it so you can drip.
No cap.
Sponsored by Sonya Lee Robinson. Go to Amazon and comp that. Counting Your Blessings Journal. How many know you need to count your blessings? Let God know you ain't forgot about him. And you're not giving all the credit to the universe. See you on episode 4. Blessings.